And good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. This is episode number 26. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. You can find me everywhere on social media under my pen name, AJ Cattapan. If you've watched previous episodes of Cath-Lit Live, you might be wondering, where is Amy coming from now? That's not the usual background, and this is a real background. Sometimes I think it looks like I have a virtual background back there. No. This is my new library wall. It's still a work in progress. I don't know that the books are all standing exactly where they are. Things might get shuffled around, but I finally got new bookcases in my home, and I'm in the process of getting them properly shelved and filled with books and all sorts of wonderful things. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me. I can't wait to have her on. This book is very important to me, and I have been waiting for a long time for the book to come out and to have this guest on. If you are new here and you're wondering what we do at Cath-Lit Live, I basically bring you short interviews with Catholic authors who have new books coming out, and we cover the gamut of Catholic books, fiction and nonfiction, books for kids, books for adults. As always, I should mention my sponsor, the Hallow Prayer app. If you haven't checked out the Hallow Prayer app, please go do it. In fact, just today, it was announced that they have added some brand new content. I mean, they're always adding content. If you're already on the Hallow app, you know this. There are so many things on there. There's music to listen to. There's Rosary. There's Divine Mercy Chaplet. There's Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a Year podcast. There's Bishop Barron content and just so much wonderful stuff. But now there's also going to be daily gospel readings by none other than TV Jesus himself, Jonathan Rumi from The Chosen, with reflections by Jeff Cavins, who's been doing the Bible in the Year podcast. So now he's going to offer his reflections on the daily gospel reading after it's read by TV Jesus, Jonathan Rumi. So go check out the Hallow app. You can get the app for free, the premium version for free. There's always a free version, but you can get the premium version for free by going to my link, hallow.app/Cath-Lit Live. It's been a while since I've done one of these episodes. I will put it on the screen for you and the link in the YouTube notes, hallow.app/Cath-Lit Live. That helps to support the show Cath-Lit Live, and it gets you a premium trial. And I think right now, it's a 3-month premium trial. So you get all the content, not just the stuff that's regularly free, but all the stuff. So anyways, without further ado, I should talk about tonight's book, which I actually have a copy of right here. It's written by my friend, Christy Wilkens. This is Awakening at Lourdes. Christy Wilkens is a Catholic wife, mother of 6, and the author of Awakening at Lourdes, How an Unanswered Prayer Healed Our Family and Restored Our Faith. She writes for CatholicMom.com, Blessed is She, and Accepting the Gift. In 2019, she was invested as a Dame in the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. So please help me welcome to the show, Christy Wilkens. Hello, Christy. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. I was telling everyone, I said, I waited a long time for this book to come out because I knew about it from the beginning.
Well, right? From the day it happened. Yeah.
Right, the day it happened. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually in the book. Christy talks about me.
Supporting role, yeah.
I have a supporting role, yes. That put me up for any kind of Oscar or something, the supporting role.
Is there a small Catholic publishing Oscar? I don't know.
Right. But why don't you tell us what Awakening at Lourdes is about?
Sure. The book is a memoir of our 2017 pilgrimage to Lourdes with our son Oscar, and we were guests of the Order of Malta American Association, which is based in New York City. So Oscar is our 6th child, and he was typically developing until he began having seizures at about 5 months of age. And over the next 12 months, we really tried everything we could think of medically to heal him, and nothing worked. So, that was really a difficult challenge for us to come to terms with. But the scarier thing was that my faith was deeply shaken by that experience. So we went to Lourdes, obviously partly seeking healing for our son, but for me, it was really the ultimate test for God. So it might sound at first glance like a special needs parenting book, but it's really a book for anyone who has suffered through a hard thing and found their faith faltering under those circumstances. So it's about, my journey in asking God, do you really love me? are you who you say you are? And how do you plan to redeem this unholy mess? Because that's really what
Yes.
it felt like at the time that we went.
Yeah. You know what I'm realizing as you're telling a bit about your story? Maybe we should back up for those people who might not know Lourdes in the Order of Malta at all. Because you and I, like, we could be like talking shop almost here. And
Sure.
you and I know what we're talking about. We're both dames of Malta now. But other people might not. So maybe we should back up a little bit. And I know I'm kind of throwing this at you because we did not plan for this and we just talked through it. But could you maybe give the quick explanation? What is Lourdes? It's in France, but for somebody who's like, okay, what's Lourdes, France? What's that?
Sure. It's a pilgrimage site to the site where the Blessed Mother appeared to Saint Bernadette in 1858. And she appeared a total of, I believe, 14 or 18. I get the numbers confused. A number of times over that year in 1858. And one of the things that she told Saint Bernadette to do during one of the apparitions was to told her to go wash herself in the water. And Saint Bernadette turned and started to head for the river. And the Blessed Mother said, no, right where you are. And so Bernadette, with her own hands, like pulled up the grass and started digging in the mud and trying to drink it, to the disgust of everyone who was watching at the time. But by the next day, the water was flowing clear. And within a few days or weeks, the first recorded miracle occurred as a result of the holy water that was coming from the spring. So it's a major Catholic pilgrimage site. And the Order of Malta kind of separately has a 900-year history of caring for the sick and the poor. They were founded to care for pilgrims in the Holy Land at the time of the Crusades. But one of their primary charisms is to care for the sick and the poor all over the world. They do that in many ways, but one of their primary works is to bring sick people to Lourdes on pilgrimage. And they do that every year, the first weekend in May.
Yes. Okay. I have a visual aid. I'm a little embarrassed to say I never got this framed. Maybe you have yours nicely framed. Do you remember the picture they bought?
Yes.
This is it, guys. That you're only going to see this on Cath-Lit Live. This is our pilgrimage group.
Exclusive.
You're right in front, I think.
We are kind of in the middle. Yeah.
Aren't you? You guys, why can't I not find you? You're like
in the
right
front row. I want to say we're kind of on the like center left, maybe.
Center. Oh wait, here you are. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this on the screen right. You guys are like where my finger is. There you are. There's Oscar.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can only find myself because I was standing near Father Dave, who was that lovely priest in white. So I'm near the priest in white, everyone. Just trust me.
Nice. Well, and so what I think is really interesting about that picture is, like I said, we traveled with the American Association. And so the picture that you were showing was just to the American Association pilgrimage. And it was about 50 malades, which is their word for the sick people. And Oscar was one of the malades. Mm-hmm. But they brought a team of like 350 volunteers, including you,
yes,
to take care of those malades. And that was just one of dozens of associations with the Order of Malta that brought pilgrims to Lourdes that same weekend.
Right, from all around the world. So there's 3 associations in the U.S. because you are now a dame of are you the federal?
Federal.
You're the Federal Association. And then there's also a Western Association in the U.S. and then from countries all around the world.
Right.
Yeah, so all over the place. Okay, so let's talk about the Order of Malta's Lourdes pilgrimage, because people can go there. Anybody can go there as a pilgrim. But what is special about the Order of Malta's pilgrimage to Lourdes?
Well, as you mentioned, Lourdes is a special place in and of itself. You know, I have many friends who have visited without the Order of Malta, and they've had very rich, spiritual, even transformative experiences. I've only actually ever been with the Order of Malta, so I don't have a basis for comparison. But I think the thing that sets the Order of Malta's pilgrimage apart is really community. So it's not just that we were there being cared for, but so many of the people who were there to volunteer were actually malades first or caregivers to another malade first. And I think that's really important to note that people with the Order of Malta, they get involved and they get kind of hooked by their own experience of being cared for. And it's a springboard, and it allows them to transform their suffering into something that's life-giving for other people. And that was really evident in the number of people that were caring for us. I think your picture actually also really illustrates the scale and the grandeur of their pilgrimage. I mean, like I said, we had 400 people just with our pilgrimage, but there was a mass on Sunday where every association that was there that week was all in one place at the same time. And it was like tens of thousands of people in one basilica, and just the
Like an underground
overwhelming.
stadium,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And
That's how I thought of it.
it really was such a beautiful illustration of the universality of the church. I mean, people from South Korea and Lebanon and Germany and the United States, and we were all praying in community together. And there was something very powerful about that. I think it's also important to note, like I said, the Order of Malta is actually a religious order, and many of its members are lay members, but they do have professed members as well. And so along with that come special charisms and special graces. So the pilgrimage is not really about attempting to make people whole, but it's about attempting to help them to feel the belovedness and the wholeness that they already have, even in the middle of their disability or their illness.
Okay, so you've mentioned the word grace. Let's talk about that a bit more. How have the graces from your time in Lourdes kind of carried out or continued to unfold after our 2017 pilgrimage?
Well, you've already spoiled one of them, which is that my husband Todd and I are both now full members in the Federal Association. So he's a knight and I'm a dame. So that means that we have made a promise to essentially try to fulfill the charisms of the order for the rest of our life, and that's defense of the faith and care for the poor and the sick. And we do that not just through the Lourdes pilgrimage, but through a number of charitable works and just through the way we live our lives at home now. Another spoiler, I guess, Oscar experienced a lot of great physical healing, both while we were on the pilgrimage and immediately after. So you can read about that in the book. And it really took me time to come to terms with that, both back in 2017, but I'm still coming to terms with it today in a lot of ways. It really cemented for me that his disability and his ailments were part and parcel of his belovedness, that was one of the things that God had gifted him with, and that it was crucial to the mission that God had for him on this world. I had taken him there to fix him. And so one of the graces for me that's still continuing to unfold is realizing that he didn't need to be fixed, that God needed to fix my heart for me to be able to accept that this was his mission, this was his life. But having said that, the physical gains that we saw after the pilgrimage have stayed. I mean, he had gone for most of a year before we left, making almost zero progress on any of his therapy goals. And I actually got one of those like Facebook memory reminders recently that reminded me that he did his 6-month reevaluation in the midsummer after that pilgrimage, and it was like check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. So there was the qualitative stuff that we were seeing, but there was measurable quantitative progress. And I think that physical healing really pointed back to a lot of spiritual healing that happened in our family. And over the years since then, our family has faced a lot of other medical and psychological and family challenges. And the grace of that understanding of realizing that those physical healings are meant for our spiritual edification and for the, for the life of the church, it's really allowed us to face the challenges that we've had since then in a completely different way. We were really failing to live with grace and trust before Lourdes, and we've been able to sort of set aside the despair in the years since, and just try to meet God in each moment and accept whatever he's sending us, even if what he's sending us is kind of messy.
Yeah, and it can be hard, but
I think we've all had a lot of hard in the last 2 years. No one is living their best life right now.
Right. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We're walking in faith, right? So what if somebody decides they want to go to Lourdes, whether they end up going with the Order of Malta or just on their own? What are some of the highlights of the Lourdes experience, or things you would say are like can't miss when you go to visit Lourdes?
I think the Rosary procession, which happens at about, I think it's 9 p.m. every night, is just so special and so unlike anything I've ever experienced at any other Catholic pilgrimage. Not that I've been to like hundreds, but it's so unique to Lourdes, and it's so powerful. So you process behind a statue of Our Lady, but you're carrying these candles that are surrounded by these beautiful tulip-shaped paper holders, and you kind of process back and forth in rows and rows, and it's very hypnotic. And when the Rosary is prayed, every 2 or 3 Hail Marys is prayed in a different language. And again, it's one of those examples of like the beautiful universality of the church. And so you're surrounded by pilgrims from all over the world, and everyone is kind of trying to pray together, and everybody says amen together.
Yeah.
But when you hear, all of a sudden you're praying the Hail Mary in French, and you hear a crowd of French pilgrims over here praying loudly in French. And then the next few are in Spanish, and you hear that over here, and German over here, and Portuguese back there. And there's just a sense of being really enveloped in that shared faith. And I don't know, the power of sharing that moment together is really indescribable.
Yeah.
Another thing,
not to mention incredibly beautiful, all those candles in the dark while you're walking.
Yeah.
It's just
we've
so beautiful.
prayed it on like cold, rainy nights. We've prayed it on beautiful, clear nights, and it just never fails. I never fail to get what I need out of that moment. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the rosary, is that, the Blessed Mother and Jesus and God, they all meet us, and they give us what we need in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
The grotto itself was another highlight for us. So when Bernadette encountered the Blessed Mother, Lourdes was literally a trash heap. Like, there was a cave, and it was the cave out in the forest outside of town where everyone went to dump their garbage. And obviously it's been cleaned up and tidied up since then, but the cave is still there, and the spring is still there. And that was one of the last things we did, and I wasn't expecting much out of it, but it was a very powerful experience. The sense of belovedness and the sense of maternal care and protection is really palpable there. So just walking through the grotto, even though it seems like a simple thing, like you literally walk through a cave, it takes 2 minutes, but that was really transformative.
And Oscar had a powerful moment there too. I don't know.
Oscar had another powerful moment there.
Maybe do we let people read that in the book? Maybe.
I think we'll save that for the book. There are beautiful candles. So there's a big pyramid of candles in the grotto, and there are candles all throughout the entire sanctuary. So definitely lighting a candle for your prayer intention. And then, I kind of intentionally put the baths last, because in my experience, you'll read in the book, that was a really underwhelming experience. A lot of people go there specifically for the baths, and I think they're important and you should do it, but they may not be what you expect them to be, and it may end up not being the most spiritual experience you've ever had actually in the baths. They're a little bit clinical and kind of utilitarian, and some of the other things that the sanctuary has to offer are really more like traditionally beautiful and moving than the baths were for me.
Yeah. Everyone's got a story, though. I found anyone who's gone to Lourdes, they have a story about what happened in the baths or outside the baths, or there's always a story. I've got a story too. In fact,
you have a great story.
Book, you'll find out my story. So I've given everyone another reason to go check out your book. They can find out my bath story. All right. Well, what if people want to learn more about you, Christy, and your work? And I know you're doing speaking and things too. So where can they find out more about you?
Sure. My website is christywilkens.com, and that's Christy with a CH and a Y and Wilkens with an E. It's one of those crazy names I have to explain all the time. I write at catholicmom.com, at Blessed is She and Accepting the Gift, and the book is available at Ave Maria Press. And for anyone who tuned in tonight, you can get 25% off with the promo code HEALING. But if Ave is not your gig, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the usual suspects.
Wonderful, wonderful. And social media, what's your favorite place if people want to follow you on social media?
I'm most active on Instagram these days, so CSA Wilkens, and then I'm Faithful Not Successful on Facebook, which is the name of a blog that I'm mostly writing about disability, theology, suffering, book reviews, that kind of thing. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Christy.
Thanks. It was so good to catch up.
Yes, it's so good to talk with you. All right. So I'm going to wave goodbye to Christy for right now. We'll wrap up. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in again for another episode of Cath-Lit Live. Do go check out Christy's book. Again, it's called Awakening at Lourdes. This is what it looks like. Of course, I've got my copy with my little autograph book plate inside. So please go check it out. Don't forget to check out the Hello app to get your free premium trial. So much great prayer content on the Hello app. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, especially those of you who've already read Christy's book. It's been out for just about a month now. So go and check it out. Until next time, everybody, happy reading.